continuing to work on the holy face, and you're going to see there's a little bit of difference in this icon and the icon I was working on. Somehow I lost footage of the Flesh 2 and Flesh 3 and doing the halo and some detail work. So I started another one. I'm going to finish up with this. And as always, we'll begin with prayer. So concentrate and think about meditating on what you intend to write into your icon, the prayers that you're offering, and prayers for anyone that you know in particular who are in need. So let us pray. And so now we are going to continue with our flesh. And what we're going to do right now, one of the first things I want to do is I did not yet put any burnt sienna on the hair and the beard, so, and the mustache. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. A little bit of burnt sienna. And it's just going to be a nice little wash. It doesn't have to be really heavy. You just want to get some color on there. And I will be using my number 6 round for this. So I'm just placing this. It doesn't really matter about brush strokes. We're just laying down this color. The only thing you want to be conscious of is, of course, staying away from the flesh in those areas. Just getting the color down on the hair, the beard, and of course the mustache. So So we're going to come right over this eyelid, and we're going to cover all of that orange, that first flesh. We're going to cover all of that very thin, just a nice thin layer. But on this very first Flesh 2, I'm covering almost all of this orange. I don't want a lot of this orange showing through. Now we'll show you. There is one place that we are going to want that orange to peek through, and that's going to be on the nose. And of course the nose is always, I tell you, it looks like a fish. So the top of the nose, the bridge here, is like the tail of a fish. And it comes down just about right here, even with the eyes. And then leave a tiny little bit of orange peeking through and do the body of the fish. The body comes all the way down to the tip, and we stop. And then we have a round head down here. So you make a round nose, round tip, and again there's that tiny little line there. And then on the nostrils, place a coat. Alright, so hopefully you were able to see that. And of course then we want the ears. So we're going to do the same thing on the ears that we did on the nose. Going to leave a little orange line, just a little one right there, and right at the bottom. So there'll be 3. So right here and right here, there's a little orange line that I left open. Same thing on this ear. Fill it into there, leave a little tiny bit of orange, fill in the next section, leave a little bit of orange, and come down here. Now you don't want it to be huge, you just want it to be enough to indicate some small folds in the skin. That's the only reason we're leaving that. Alright, come down here to this upper lip, this portion right above the top lip. Fill in the lip itself and the bottom lip. Remember, here in these areas, we're covering almost the entire bit of orange. We really don't want this orange peeking through much at all. And you're just going to kind of be conscious of going down into the beard and covering that part of the orange. And the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to cover any portion of the flesh that is still sans-cuir, which is that really, really dark brown that we started with. You can see inside the ears. I'm not putting any, because I didn't put any orange inside the ear. I'm not going to put any of the yellow color inside the orange either. That makes it look chalky and really funky, so just keep away from that. We're going to go right up under the eye for this first coat. All that orange is covered. Right next to the nose. A little bit under the nose. Spread that paint out. Right next to that mustache and down the cheek, making sure that we're going right into, you can leave a tiny bit of orange out here, it doesn't have to be completely covered there. We're going right down into the area where the beard would be, so just keep pulling that down and just be conscious of not getting into an area that's just sans-cuir. A little bit of water. Just make sure when your paint starts to kind of get liney or feathery on you, it means you're not using enough water. So just grab a dab of water on your paintbrush, come back into that paint and start spreading again, and you'll see a huge difference in the way that your paint is going to respond laying on that canvas. Okay. So this is how much, I hope you can see. That's all I'm putting in here for right now. I just want to transition that flesh 2 to the next level. And you can see how little I put in there. Maybe just a touch more. I mean, I just touched the tip of my brush, okay? And you can see the difference in the colors here on my palette. Alright, that looks really good. Coating for flesh 3, and remember, third flesh, less and less. Looking to see where we start here. I'm actually going to start right on the eyelid. And I'm just barely touching my brush. So I'm starting in, not going out as far. Pull this out. Wipe my brush, because that was a lot of paint. Wipe it. And then I'm just going to pull that out. Till the paint stops, till I'm out. And then I want to do this upper. And I'm not covering all of that, I'm just covering just the top part. Let's do the nose. We're shrinking up. We're making it smaller and smaller. So a small line across and a line down the side. Small line across, a line down the side. Highlight on the nose, making it smaller right above that upper lip. No flesh 3 on that upper lip at all, just the lower lip. There's a bright line right next to the mustache, and I'm not going down all the way, I'm just staying up here close to the mouth, about halfway down, and then the chin. Wiping off my brush because I don't want to take that too far out. Let me get a tiny bit of water, just so that the brush is a little bit damp, and then I'm just dragging that paint out, just softening that edge. That's all I'm trying to do, so I don't have too much of a hard line right there. Okay, and I'm going to do the ears. And the ears, I'm going to be very careful. I'm not doing a whole lot. I'm just touching in certain areas. Things that would be closest to the eye, I'm highlighting. So not the entire ear, but just small portions of the ear. And now we begin to feel and see some depth in our flesh colors. Let's do this first cheek. Now, here's where we're going to leave a little bit of a darker color. So I'm going to come here right in the corner, but I'm coming under the eye. I'm leaving a darker area here, you can see. And then I'm spreading this out right under the nose. And remember, we try to work in a triangular motion on the cheeks. And so I'm coming and I'm just pulling this out till the paint is all gone. Just trying to spread the paint till it's completely gone. Trying not to leave a hard line there. It seems a little harsh. I got a little, cleaned my brush off just a tiny bit so it's a little bit damp. And I'm just kind of trying to feather that out just a little bit. Let's do the chin one more time. I just want to let this dry, so I'm not going back to that yet. Smaller and smaller areas, smaller and smaller. I'm just hitting those bright spots right above that upper lip, a tiny bit, right next to the mustache, and I'm only going about 1/4 of the way down. Bottom lip. Okay. Ear, one more time, even smaller than the first one. And I think that's dry. Alright, so let's put the other cheek in, right up in the corner, come down underneath the eye, and then spread in a triangular fashion. I'm going to clean that brush off, and then I'm going to just feather that out just a tiny bit, and I'm just going to tap it with my finger there, try to ease that transition. And see, I kind of have a little bit of a hard line there. I'll use that. Okay. I don't want to pull that up. Now, I kind of feel like I stopped short. I think I need a little bit more, like in this area. So on my next pass, when I add the highlight, it's okay for me to go all the way up there, higher into that orangey area. It's okay for me to do that. So I'll show you what I mean. It'll be a smaller area. It'll be right in here. But when I pull this up, I'm going to go all the way up. And transition that out a little bit better. It's going to look a little bit more natural. And I'm going to pull this side over just a little bit. I think I stopped too short on this, so I'll kind of pull that out just a little bit. And I can do that. I can go back in and correct some of that, just because I didn't put a whole lot of paint there in the beginning. I left it darker, so it's going to allow me and be more forgiving on consecutive colors when I'm able to go in and bring it up a little bit past where I stopped the last time. And that's one of the ways that you start to get a nice smooth transition, is when you're able to transition your paint successively in layers by going further or lower. So higher and lower. It just gives you the ability to fine-tune those highlights on the skin. I don't think I want to go to Flush 4. I'm pretty happy with this, but I will do some enliveners. The enliveners are the little areas that you see right in the corners of the eyes, right above the lip, right in here, right above the eyebrows will be an enlivener. So at this point, let's put in the eyes, and we're painting in the iris. Not the pupils, but the iris of the eye. I always get confused. I'm sure you've heard me say the wrong word. Alright, so I'm going to go in here and look and see where our eyes are. Right in here. Remember, the eye always touches the top lid. And those look pretty much the same size, I think. I always end up getting one a little bit bigger than the other, I think. That looks pretty good though. Alright, once the pupils, or once the irises are dry, then we're going to do the pupil. And your brush should be a little bit damp. Come in here, get your black, carbon black, Mars black, whichever one you have. And we're going to put in the pupil then. And remember then also, the pupil also touches the top of the eyelid. So you don't want your pupil just hanging in the middle of the eye, not connected to anything. You're going to get kind of a scary looking eye if you do that. So make sure that pupil touches the top of the eyelid. Sorry if I'm getting you at a bad angle here. I think this one needs to be a tiny bit bigger. And of course, if you miss the mark and go up, just take your damp brush, wipe that off. You should be good to go. So we're trying to make a round dot. I mean, it can be challenging sometimes, so you just have to kind of keep going with it till you round that out. Alright, I think we look pretty good there. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make the whites of the eye. And to do that, we're going to take a little bit of unbleached titanium. And I'm going to use my liner brush here. Going to come in right next to the eye, and it's like making a comma. And we're putting it on both sides of the eye. Because we would like for him to look at us, not away from us, not to the side. We want him looking straight at us if we can. So we put it on both sides. and I'm happy with that. If I only put white on the outside here and the inside here, he would look toward your right. If I put white on the inside here and white on the outside here only, he would be looking to your left. So that's why we do it both sides, so he's looking at us, not to either side of us. All right, we want to let that dry. It's pretty dry now. And then we're going to come in and we're going to take our black again, and we are going to outline the pupil. Outline the iris of the eye, the whole eye. So we're coming in here right between the white of the eye and the iris of the eye, and we're outlining. This is where you can correct any mistakes that you think you may have made. Okay. And I did get a little bit of black inside that eye. Don't forget, mistakes can happen. Just go back in with a little bit of that burnt sienna. And I just covered that up. Covered that up. And what we're going to do is we're going to give him an eyelid. So black, and we just come right across the top, right across the lid, touching that eye. And there we have him. He's got some eyes now. Okay, do need to put some eyebrows in for him. Since I have some burnt sienna on my plate, for his eyebrows, I want them to be a little darker than his hair. So I'm taking some of the black that I had, and I'm going to add that to my burnt sienna. Burnt sienna, touch of black. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create his eyebrows. Just like that. So they're kind of squared off. Okay, and I'm happy with how that looks. You can always come in and fix it if you think they either didn't go out far enough or they're not squared, they're not fat enough. You can always make them larger at this point. Alright, we have Turner's Yellow on our plate, and I think I'm going to be using the number 3 just because this is such a smaller image. If this were the larger panel, I'd be using my number 6, but I'm going to go with the smaller brush, and we're going to add some water. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this, and starting where the part would be, we will touch, push, and come down to the ear. So we're touching, pushing as we move, making it wider, and we'll come all the way down below the ear. Touch, get a little bit more paint. So touch, push, and come down to about right there, because I have a couple of little different levels here. way that we're going to highlight this, I'll wash my brush out. And then we're going to take the liner brush and go in and take that same Turner's yellow, and on each hair section we'll highlight. So start at the top and highlight on the outside of it. We'll just take that Turner's yellow and highlight on the outside of that hair. So let's go in and put a little bit of this burnt sienna on. And I am going to use my larger brush. Let's see how we like it. It might end up being too bright, but if it is, then we can tone it down.